Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia and welcome back to another episode of our Theorycraft Thursday. For those of you joining us for the first time, Theorycraft Thursday is a weekly series for the upcoming collectible card game Total War Elysium, where I'll be diving into a certain gameplay or design topic, and this week we are going to look at card replication, namely through the card New Recruits. So let's hop into game. Here we are in the collection tab again, and we're going to look at a keyword copy. And we see that there are 3 cards that can copy. And if we look at the cards I don't have, there's none that fit the keyword. And what we have here is Rally Point, Galley, and New Recruits. Rally Point and Galley are both medieval cards. Rally Point is a structure that will, at the end of your turn, if an ally had died this turn, add a copy of it to your hand. It is 1/1, which cost 1. So it summons back an ally that has died. Now keyword here is ally, so it doesn't have to be a unit, it can be a structure as well. But it has to die on your turn from the turn that you have played Rally Point. This card is rather buggy in game. Sometimes I have experienced situations where it would not spawn the cards that have died. Sometimes it would spawn cards that have died since you played Rally Point. Doesn't have to be the one that died this turn. So it's rather strange, and it doesn't return all cards died in a turn, it returns 1. So it becomes rather weird with Rally Point, so we're not going to talk too much about it. And also, since it's only restricted to medieval, it doesn't really apply to the whole picture. Then we have Galley. It's a 4-cost unit. It's a ship unit that has a herald ability where you can target a friendly unit and also gain a copy of it that's 1/1 and that costs 1. So that seems to be a trend of getting a 1/1 copy that costs 1. And we're going to see that trend continue with New Recruit, which is a timeless event card. So that means every single deck in the game can utilize this card. And what it does is for every friendly unit in play, add a copy that's 1/1 that costs 1 into your hand. So this is the card that we're going to take a look at today, because I've been sleeping on this card a bit too much. It does cost quite a bit, but with the recent rise of the Camel decks, which will be featured later on this week, as a little spoiler here, I'll be trying to include as many broken things in the game right now into one deck. And part of the idea behind it will also involve New Recruits, because this card, if you think about it, can be played into many type of decks, and in particular the newest general. I'm not going to spoil one of the test decks, but let's say we have the new general Devol. And Devol has this ability where it requires you to have 9 cards in hand. Therefore, having something like New Recruit, being able to add cards to your hand based on what you already have on the field, can be potentially very beneficial. And even if you don't utilize his passive, if you use a combo deck where you require certain cards to pull off the combo, saving those combos from day 1 is obviously the best way to go. But beyond day 1, if you want to play the combo again, unless you have a good amount of card draw set up for farther days down the line in a certain game, you could definitely utilize New Recruit to return those combo cards back into your hand. Now, we're obviously talking about a lot of specific case uses, and it's actually more beneficial if we just search for units and see what type of unit would be great to be called back into your hand at 1/1 that cost 1, and kind of get an idea of how we should utilize New Recruits in the game and some of the potential abuses. Because I did have a recent conversation with someone on the Discord server about the game's balance, and they were complaining about 8 Decamp, which I realize is a very powerful card, and I wasn't trying to disagree with them, saying that, the card is not broken. The card is powerful, but I believe it has a place in the game by allowing us to reset games. Now, of course, if you are on the receiving end of such cards, obviously it's not going to feel great. And the one specific case that he brought up in the argument is, what if the opponent can replicate the card 8 Decamp, which is legendary, and if you could get copies of it, the game would potentially never end. Well, that is definitely a possibility and something we can look at in this discussion here as well. So starting from the beginning, these 0 cost cards are definitely not ones you want to return unless you want to just increase the size of your hand. The Bronze Worker, you can make an argument for it. You would potentially want another copy, and 1-1 versus 0-4, well, I can definitely argue 0-4 is better in terms of survivability, but it doesn't hurt to add another one if you have a 1 cost slot. It doesn't cost you any extra, and potentially you can boost the ally that's going to appear in the other line, considering that it needs an empty line. You can give it 2 attack, so obviously it's not bad. You would never want it on Citizen Soldier. It doesn't give you any benefit, just gives you the exact same card back. Court Eunuch is okay, not great. And the trend that we're going to see is we want cards that have some sort of effect on them to make them worthwhile. Now, Ferrying is always this card that can be used with Galley, and Galley can kind of trigger itself. We're not going to go into the whole Galley repeating combo. It doesn't really require New Recruit because New Recruit itself costs 5. So all these combos you have to think about, if you're designing it for this card, is it worth to use 5 supplies? And I would say for Ferrying it's probably not. Horse Scout, definitely not. You're getting a 1-1-1 instead of 1-1-3. It's not what you ideally would want. Javeliers, however, can be potentially great because you get a repeat trigger of the Herald ability of 1 ping, and you get a 1-1 unit instead of a 0-2, which I could argue is not bad. And usually Javeliers are used in Surin decks to use as trigger for Surin to kill off enemy units, and getting another one using the new recruit card potentially can be great because you can also get a bunch of Surin attendants back, and you usually have a bunch of minions on the field playing as Surin anyways. So that's definitely an option. Moving on, these Herald ability, anytime you see a Herald ability card, you can definitely argue that just the ability itself might be worth. Is it worth getting a 1 cost plus 1 health on a friendly unit that also gives you a 1-1 body? Sure, I would agree that would be not bad. Kurdish Hillman, also not bad because of the Daybreak effect. Kind of give you the exact same card back, so you're getting another copy of it. Livestock, probably worse. That's not a unit, just has unit keyword in the description. That's definitely worse. Same exact card, same exact card. And over here, slightly worse in terms of survivability, but also I wouldn't mind getting another copy. Then moving on, same exact card, definitely worse, definitely worse. I would argue slightly worse, but I wouldn't mind getting a 1 cost 1-1. It would do the same thing of triggering 1 extra copy of Recruit in the backline, because attack is all that really matters for armed recruiters. So that's not half bad. Artillery Officers, also not bad, because I would get a 1 cost 1-1 that I can surprise opponent by triggering a lot of round shots if I have my artilleries ready set up. Black Mountain Bandits, I would argue, would probably be bad. It would still be useful, but survivability would be very questionable here. Catapult might actually be better. It would be a 1 cost 1-1, so it would improve this card. It would be strictly worse. Definitely worse because survivability becomes a key issue. It's already kind of an issue for this card that wants to kind of survive through all the AoE damage and build itself up. Greek Militia, however, will be amazing because think about it, you will have 2 of these on the field, and if you play new recruits, you get 2 back. Doesn't matter if they're 1 cost 1-1 because the copy they will summon will be a 2 cost 2-2 copy because it will copy the card and not your card. So it will summon another Greek Militia, so that's definitely value right here. Irish Cairn, terrible because you need health to trigger the passive. Strictly worse because you lose about 3 points of stat for 1 cost. Probably very good because you're only using this unit to trigger the structure bonus. Marauders, very decent, cost 1, guarantee you 1 supply back, free card, raid, gets a cheaper card. Better card? No, not strictly better because you lose 1 health. Pretty useless. Probably fair, 1 cost 1-1 with flanking. Same ratio. Probably less useful though. And then you have 1-1-1 with shield, about the same. Definitely worse, you lose 4 points. Definitely better. Probably better, because you just want to use this to trigger a lot of camouflage, so having a lower cost would definitely help you. So you can see there's a lot of cards that can actually improve when you use this, but nothing too game breaking so far as we keep going. This will be okay, 1 cost 1/1 with the same Herald ability. Probably slightly worse, but I wouldn't mind it. Definitely worse in terms of survivability, you lose 2 points of health, which means you can't probably use the action trigger because you will probably have to play the 1/1 on the back line, use one action to move it up, and then attack, because you're not going to be able to attack twice because you'd be trading your health and you'd be in trouble. This will be better because you have a 1 cost 1/1, which is the same amount of stat for cheaper, same exact bonus. And this is going to come into play when we use our camo deck, because supply train is a very essential part of the camo combo. And then definitely worse, better, about the same, probably about the same. This one's probably slightly worse, but not that much, because you still can survive against range. Is that what you're using it for? But probably worse, just because survivability even at the reduced cost. This will be worse, because you want the attack to give you supplies. This is an interesting card. I don't actually know any deck that features it, so I wouldn't know if you want this effect twice at a cheaper cost. This is probably better. 3 costs for 2/2, 1 cost for 1/1, camouflage short range. This will be worse. Anything with extra action, losing health really hurts you. Probably around the same, because you have 1 cost 1/1. This will be strictly better. You lose 2 points of stat, you lose 2 costs, have this same awesome effect. And then let's see, Dreadbringer, definitely good, because you get another card that will shatter and give you a Dread Hose. Any card where the shatter effect or the Herald effect is the main selling point, definitely better. That's not a unit. I would say that's probably better, because you are just trying to spawn extra bodies with this card. So you want a planned 1 cost 1/1, gets you at least another peasant, so that's good. And then Fireship, definitely worse. You need stat to make it useful. Worse, 1/1 would not be really worth camouflaging because you die to any sort of AoE. Force Archers, probably about the same, if not worse. I would say that's definitely about the same. Terrible, because you just die next turn. And over here, that's probably not as bad as you think. If you play on the turn before Daybreak, it could work out. About the same. Probably better. 1 cost 1/1, short range, move a unit. You pretty much take everything you want from this card and make it cheaper. So that's pretty good. Longbowmen, I would say that's a push, because usually you play Longbowmen with the promote combo. And then if you have both combo in hand, you get a cheaper card that only loses 1 health technically. So you're saving 2 supplies for 1 health, so maybe even better. Standalone wise, not so good, but if you are using the promote combo, it would probably be better for you. And then we have Messenger, definitely better, as you can have the same Herald effect at a cheaper cost for just a loss of 1 stat on each. Probably worse because of survivability issues, but if you can save it, then not so bad. Pearl Dragon, pretty amazing, I would say, because you're just using it to give other cards action. So in a sense, you do lose 3 stats, but you can trigger this even without using Pearl Dragon as fast, because he doesn't need to be the one doing attack. He can just be on the field, getting a mandate ability to give everything else 1 action right away. This could be better, because if you have an established board, which you should when you have new recruit as one of your pieces, then having a 1 cost 1/1 that can build up can obviously be a great thing. Definitely a better card, because you're usually only using it for the Herald ability. Not very used very much. I would say it will get worse, because you lose a lot of stats here. Pretty useless. I mean, 1 cost for 1 ping, it would be the same effect as Lagatha, with more restrictions, because you wouldn't be able to hit the backline. Now, of course, Raid can make it 0 cost, but I wouldn't say that's great. Probably better. Actually, I don't know, because you do lose a lot of health. but it will only cost 1, so it'll be a 1 cost effect, and that could work. Herald effect, pretty good. Probably decent, it'd be a push here. War Dog would still be decent, 1 cost 1/1 with stun and fast, would be very useful. This would be even better if you think about it, because you lose no stats, you save costs, retain the same effect. War Maiden would be probably not as good as what you want. The shield would still apply, but you would just be a 1/1 shield that costs 1. Not as good as shielded 4/2, because the structure is heavy attack with a shield. Warmonger would be terrible, because it would be an easy way for the opponent to help you shuffle your hand away, unless that's your goal, but I highly doubt it. This would be pretty bad, you lose 4 points of stats for 2 cost, which I don't think is that great. Yellow Turban Rebels would be great because you can use the combo once again. Amazon would be okay because you lose only 3 health for 3 supplies. You still have the +5 attack. Angry Mob would be a bit weird. I wouldn't see how this would work out because you have a 1 cost 1/1 unit that helps you kill your own things. Not great. Armored Swordsman, Shield 1/1. No, I think we'll pass on that. This would be okay. It would be a 1 cost 1/1 with Raid. That'd be pretty much a free card. This would be okay as well, because you can pick the Daybreak to play it on. Flogger would be okay depending on what else you have on the field. If everything is what you have in hand from New Recruit, then it would be pretty bad because you would be killing everything. Other than that, it should be okay. Frontier Tracker would be awesome because you are only using the range portion of its attack for the ability, so it would be the same effect for 1 cost. Galley, we already mentioned, it's commonly used for the combo of playing out galleys on the entire board, so it would be awesome for this card. Garrison would be interesting, but I don't see how it would be strong because you don't really need health since you are using the unbreakable idea here. But losing attack would be pretty detrimental for this card. Of course you can try to boost it, but I don't think it would be worth your time. Moving on, Headhunter would be pretty useless. 1 damage shattered would be rather weak. Of course you can use it as a ping damage, but it wouldn't be as good. Over here you will still potentially get the stun on it. Trading 4 stats for 3 costs. So. You lose so much stat here, I don't think it's worth it. Camouflage low stat, we already mentioned this. Same idea here. This would be okay. This would become a Slinger. So, Slinger is pretty good. I wouldn't mind another Slinger. Hungarian Noble would be an interesting card depending on if you want to lose your hand. I would argue you probably don't because you are trying to trade the extra stat here for the fact you will lose your hand. And that's not a great trade if it's only 1/1. This would be great since you'd be triggering the Heroic. This would be so-so. You probably wouldn't survive the turn you have to move. And even if you do survive, it becomes a lot less scarier. It'd be a stronger livestock. Lancer, pretty average. All these cavalry with flanking only would become a 1/1, 1/1. It'd be kind of worse than a Horse Scout, so you wouldn't want that. This would be great, because you're trying to give adjacent unit extra stat. This would be great. Raid, that costs 1. With Shatter, draw a card. Mounted Brigands, probably not as good because you need the extra health. You will gain attack, but you're just not going to survive if you're at 1/1. Pirateer would be great. Shatter with just extra supply. Rifleman would be probably decent because you lose a lot less stat for the amount of cost saving you will generate. And since you are camouflaging a long range, you could potentially build this up a little bit before utilizing it. Trebuchet would be pretty bad, in my opinion. Same idea, anything that damage allies, if you're using New Recruit, you probably don't want to damage your allies since they would be just 1/1. This would be quite good since you're getting 2 damage ping. Vigilant Watch, quite good since you're just utilizing the effect. Saholdun would be pretty bad because you can't really trigger the effect with no health. 8 Camp would be wonderful because you'd be able to have another legendary heal in hand. Then moving on, Camel would be great because you are really playing it for just the Herald effect of redrawing cards, and then you'll be able to redraw more cards since you use New Recruit, so I believe the synergy is right there for that combo. Cannon would be pretty sad, 1/1/1/1 long range splash. stronger version of the Slinger if you don't consider the trade-off between fast versus long range plus splash when on front line. I would argue probably less useful than the Slinger, but you do save quite a bit of cost from what it costs originally, but you do lose about 4 points of stats. This would be good because you're really only using it for the plant damage. Daughter of Ares, you do lose too much health to make this effect useful. Defender of Earth would be equally as good, if not better, because you're using the mandate ability to trigger more archers, which would not be affected by the bonus. But if you compare this card to Mycenaean Chariot, which costs the same, with the same stat, that is flanking instead of long range, I would argue this card is so weak compared to a comparable Trojan card, because we'll be seeing Mycenaean Chariot very soon. They play the same role of summoning archers, but you could easily summon 4 archers for 5 costs with Mycenaean Chariot, whereas Defender of Earth, you need to match it. You would need 4 cards that can give it mandate, which is just much harder in my opinion. This would work equally well. 1 cost, 1/1 fast deploy a short sword, basically 1 cost, 1/1 with a short sword. This would be pretty useless because you wouldn't be able to utilize this very well. This would still work because you always can gain this back. You're only losing 2 stats each, 4 stat total for 4 cost saving. I would argue that's a great trade. Grenadier would be slightly worse because you could still potentially argue this is a cheaper version of this out of position card for Ancient, because you would be able to stun up to 3 if it survives. Survival is always the issue with the 1 cost. Strictly worse, 1 cost 1/1 with no benefit, 1 cost 1/1 with short range, no fast, worst version of a Slinger. Mycenaean Chariot would be awesome because you basically have a 1 cost 1/1 chariot that can summon you about 4 archers. So compare this card, which is Trojan exclusive, to Defender of Earth, which is 3 Kingdom exclusive, and you can see how there's definitely a disparity in power. Then we have Phalanx, which it would be strictly worse because we're losing way too much stat. Polish Legion would probably be good. It'd be a 1 cost 1/1 with plant ability to boost the rest of your peasants. Rabble Rouser would be excellent because, once again, similar to the Greek Militia, you'll be summoning the original card and not the copy of the card you have on the field, because originally, even if you boost the damage of this card, the copy you summon will be the original copy. So conversely, if you nerf the damage, the copy will still be the original copy. Repeating Crossbowmen could be good if you keep it safe. You lose a lot of stats, but if you can keep range safe for a turn, it can still be a great combo, and you're most likely using it in a combo deck, which means you can probably repeat your combo, whichever one you did, and it would be excellent. Saboteur would be great, 1 cost 1/1 for the Daybreak effect of dealing damage based on the number of cards that you draw on. Very good. 1 cost 1/1 Scribe would be so good because you don't lose much stat, you get the same benefit at cheaper cost. Shield Maiden would be okay, 1 cost 1/1 fast and shield. It would be better than the War Maiden we saw. Swoop would still be excellent because you're using it for combo to force opponents to move. You can achieve the same benefits. And then Tan Conscriptor would be okay because you will save a lot of cost and you still get to deploy to peasantry. Ubba would be probably slightly better actually, because you can guarantee that he will die on the turn you play him. You can have all your other unit trigger this 1 extra damage ping, then suicide him into the enemy so they can't utilize this effect. So in a way, that could be an excellent strategy. Wolf Warrior would be excellent because you get the splash and fast right away. Berserker, pretty bad because you want cards like this, similar to Garrison, where they become unbreakable, to have high attack, and you're getting rid of that with this copy. Same thing with Bloodsworn. And then moving on, could be okay depending on how many shatter effects. So far, I don't think there's enough shatter in the game to make this worthwhile. Pretty bad, but with raid could be okay because it's a free card with shield 1/1. Pretty bad. Could be okay if you have other mandate effect. I guess you would, because you'd be playing some sort of combo deck with mandate and you get copies back, and that way you can boost it and it'll boost everything else. Just might not be worthwhile to have this card originally in that deck. Minotaur will be okay, because it'll be a 1 cost potential 4-1 with fast, and I think that's excellent. Thean Champions, cost 2 left when you're outnumbered. It will be a free card 1-1. I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't love it. Rocket Troop would be better in my opinion, because sure, survivability would be an issue, but it would be so much cheaper. So if you could survive, it would be excellent. Ship of the Line would be weaker, just because you lose so much health. I mean, it's a different picture here. Losing 3 versus losing 7, it's not the same thing. Triumph would be okay. Triumph, because you can time the Daybreak. We always complain about the cost being off curve. This way, 1 cost is always kind of on curve. Army of the Great Banner, excellent. You get a Herald, Daybreak, and a Shatter effect of Growing Pikemans. Cost 1-1-1, be perfect. Centaur Horde would be okay, because Shatter summons 2 Nomad Cavalry. Elite Warriors wouldn't be elite anymore. Great Axemen would be excellent. Raid, 1 cost would be free, 3 damage, even better. Protectors of Heaven would be pretty bad, because survivability would be an issue here for you to end turn to get more Mandate of Heaven. Veteran Trainers would be excellent. Cheap combo to boost other units. General's Bodyguard would be terrible. Huskars would be okay, because you get Shatter effect plus shield at a cheaper price. Old Guards would be pretty bad. Wild Geese would be excellent, because you'll be able to have another card to refill your hand. Tiger and Leper would be decent, because you'll be able to draw out other cavalries from your deck if it survives. Cataphract would be interesting. I think it would be some sort of like specialized livestock, because you get stun, shield, and flanking. 1-1. Not the worst. And let's see, that's it. And the only one we're missing are the ones I don't have. Border Guard would be okay, because you'll be slowing down enemy decks. Sadar, average, because if you already played it, getting another one in your hand is not good, so maybe not as good. Children Defenders, I think you lose too much stat, 4 points for 2 cost, and I don't think it's worthwhile. You need to summon structures to get ranged to let us survive. Not as good as I think. And Saber Cavalry, not as good. You lose about 5 points of stat for 3 costs. The effect takes Mandate takes other cards, which is the big issue. Let's see here. Gain 1 attack whenever enemy is stunned. I still think you lose too much stat to make it useful. The card by itself is excellent. I should really craft it. Chariot would be pretty bad. It'd be 1 extra action, but just cost 1. Marshal, nay. Deploy Lancer for each playing card. I think it'll be good if you have a planned deck. Then 1-1 to trigger Shatter will always be great. The Great Horde will be fine, because you're using it for the Shatter effect. 6 cost 6/6, 1 cost 1/1 to summon 3 more bodies. Probably really good, even better than what this is. The Young Guard, plan to get Camouflage and Daybreak to gain 2 attack. Probably not as good. Survivability is always a concern. Even Camouflage is not going to save a 1 health. Blot out the sun would just kill you. War Clerk would be strictly better. You save 5 costs. That's all you do. So that's excellent. Sea Down Cavalry would be worse. Yeah, you can get stun and plus 1/1, but it's only this turn. Still a bad card in that case. The Dutch Blue Guards would be better, because you can have something else to double all your actions. Any extra copies of this legendary card will be strictly better, similar to Aid to Camp. Empress Dragoon gives friendly unit plus 1 action. I believe that would be better as well. Admiral's Flagship would be much weaker. It depends on the fact you have 3 damage for slashing long range. Once you lose that, even if it's cheaper, it's just not as good. Cyclops, same idea. You lose so much stat here. And the whole idea is to use the health to boost him on the back line, so he will launch random damage every turn. If it's just 1/1, kind of pointless. Same idea with Achilles, in the same line of Garrison Unit and Berserker. Low health, high attack. You kind of lose that benefit with Unbreakable. Pretty pointless. Hector, same idea. You need the high stat. You're losing so much stat here. You're losing 15 points of stats here for 8 costs. It just makes it kind of pointless. Purser also just would be a raid 1/1 card, not as splashy. Lubu will be useless. 1/1 with 3 actions is pointless. War Elephant's useless, because you'll never be able to trigger this because you need to be damaged. Imperial Host would also be pointless, because it's a overcosted card that requires special combos to be played, and if it costs 1/1/1, just a useless card. So that's all the cards in the game, and we kind of ran over all of them real quick just to see the effect of copying cards. There are definitely some cards that are very valuable to be copied, especially if you can copy them consistently and repeatedly, especially for combos, and we're going to put some of those in action this weekend in our Devil deck showcase, which is already ready over here, but we'll have to wait till Sunday to see that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you guys next time. Bye!